what can we expect from this mystery?
We have learned a little bit about it. As you expect from most unevolved Pokemon, it's holding the item a Violet, which increases the special defense and defense of the holder. Enosh has been pretty proud of it. He tells us it's bulkier than Cresselia, so I'm eager to see if it can stall out this team.
Yeah, it'll definitely be a lot on Mischievous' shoulders here in its debut appearance at a national championships. Of course, the Ludicolo and the Metagross over on Gavin's side, a little bit more of an offensive threat here. Also, two fake-out users potentially on both sides. Scrafty for Enosh and Ludicolo over here for Gavin.
Yeah. Enosh has a little advantage in the fake-out game since it's a ghost type. In addition to being bulkier than Cresselia, Mischievous isn't able to be flinched by fake-out because it's a normal type move. So it makes it a little bit tougher for Gavin here, and not surprisingly, we see a switch.
Yeah, Metagross comes out for Amoonguss, another very bulky and very annoying Pokemon here. This little mushroom gained a lot of notoriety in the 2011 metagame. Of course, eats a fake out from Scrafty. Good move there from Gavin, predicting the fake out there. Gets the Scald onto Enosh's Scrafty. Of course, Ludicolo is going to be dealing a little bit of damage there with that, while Mischievous will see its first trick room.
A lot of slow Pokemon in Enosh's roster. Potentially Abomasnow, Scrafty, and Rhyperior are all very slow. So Trick Room most likely to be to his advantage. However, Amoonguss, one of the slowest Pokemon in the game, already out on Gavin's side. Perhaps he saw that Trick Room coming.
Yeah, great play there by Gavin to get that Amoonguss out. Of course, it's putting a lot of pressure onto Enosh because of the Spore ability that it has, which will put one of those Pokemon to sleep, provided it's not holding a Lum or a Chesto Berry.
And one of the game's more frustrating Pokemon to play against is Amoonguss. Like Rhyperior, Volcarona we saw previously. It has the Rage Powder ability to draw an attack, but can also use Spore to put Pokemon to sleep.
And Scrafty does not want to risk being spored, is going to switch out for the Abomasnow, going to let Amoonguss have the free range for this turn at least. Snow Warning kicks up a Hailstorm as Abomasnow brings the hail with it. The Spore does come in. Looks like Gavin is afraid of the unknown. Goes for Spore onto the Mischievous. Of course, as we mentioned, the Eviolite is going to make sure that it's not holding one of those Chesto or Lum berries. Gets the free sleep onto Mischievous, just snoozing away for the remainder of this turn. Ludicolo is going to go with another Scald here, but of course, because that Scrafty switched out into the Abomasnow, great counter for rain because of its resistance to water. Doesn't take much damage, but does get the burn. The Skull burning the Abomasnow, going to get some substantial chip damage as burn whittles away at that HP bar every turn.
I'm probably not too upset about that if I'm Enosh, though. While being burned, typically a bad thing, is usually you prefer your Pokemon to have more health rather than less. It does protect them from Spore, which was a big threat here. I was just about to say, I was wondering if Enosh is going to regret putting that Trick Room up since Amoonguss sort of immediately took control, but Abomasnow is going to be able to fire back here since it can't be put to sleep anymore.
Definitely not great for Gavin on that count. Still, just definitely because of Abomasnow's Ice-type abilities there. Going to be able to deal a lot of damage to both the Amoonguss and the Ludicolo. Even though Ludicolo is part water and part grass, is going to make sure that it's taking a good amount of damage there. Amoonguss realizing that since it can't Spore anything, it can't really do anything against this Abomasnow and Mischievous combo, switches out for the Metagross, which is substantially more offensive than the Amoonguss. Definitely trying to get some more of that offensive momentum, and also is going to be able to resist this incoming Blizzard from Enosh's Abomasnow. Going to deal not very much to that Metagross. Good amount of damage to that Ludicolo, but still a good switch there by Gavin. Make sure that he doesn't take quite as much damage as he could have. Ludicolo, of course, is still going to go with that Scald onto that Mischievous, which hasn't really gotten a chance to do much of anything. It's been snoozing away. That's its second turn of sleep there. Is going to get buffeted by the hail and take a little bit of chip damage.
Apparently that Mischievous is pretty bulky. Apparently seeing it take an attack there, and Scald does almost nothing. The hail damage from the previous two turns does almost as much as the Scald did, so Mischievous probably won't have too much of a hard time surviving for a few turns here.
Yeah, Mischievous probably not going to be much of an offensive threat. Sometimes we see some Cresselia go more offensive, but Mischievous definitely looks like it is as bulky or bulkier than Cresselia. And if it can stick around, it'd be nice to see some of the tricks it has up its sleeve to make use of its bulkiness. Even though it may not be the most particularly offensive, some of these support moves can be game-changing, as you can see in some of our earlier matches. Ludicolo returns to Gavin as Volcarona comes out. Two games for Volcarona in this Nationals. I'm excited about that because Volcarona is one of my favorite Pokemon. As Metagross goes for the Protect, stalling out this Trick Room here. and that fire type on Volcarona is going to let it take the Blizzard pretty well from that Abomasnow. Metagross, of course, taking no damage because of the Protect, and the Blizzard comes in onto the Volcarona, who will be able to take that very little damage there, plus, thanks to the resist, plus its abilities to, it has really strong special defense. The Will-O-Wisp into the Metagross Protect, though, gives Gavin a lot of good information there about what that Mischievous could be packing.
We finally see one of its attacks, other than Trick Room. Like most Ghost Pokemon, it gets a good group of status moves to pull from, including Will-O-Wisp, and as well as some more unconventional moves like Pain Split. So it's likely we'll see Mischievous run a pretty support-oriented set here, given that by being an unevolved Pokemon, it can't do a whole lot of damage, but it can do some indirect damage with moves like Pain Split and Will-O-Wisp that don't actually use any of its attack stats.
Yeah, Will-O-Wisp doesn't seem like it would be as great of an offensive threat, but we're looking at the burn on Abomasnow and how much that's wiggling away each turn, especially as Gavin is playing on the defense and waiting for this Trick Room to reset. That extra damage onto Abomasnow is really great for him. Scrafty comes back out, setting up for another Fake Out next turn, perhaps. Gets the Intimidate off onto Volcarona. Would love to get that Intimidate off onto Metagross, but unfortunately its Clear Body will prevent its attack from being lowered. One of the reasons Metagross is so powerful, even given the amount of Intimidates we see in the metagame. Metagross, however, does not want to stick around, switches out for Ludicolo, so that it can have its own Fake Out pressure, and also eat a Will-O-Wisp if it needs to. Misses, and Volcarona, the other type of Volcarona, going for Quiver Dance, not the Rage Powder here.
Yeah, Rage Powder has become more common recently. It used to be that Volcarona was always a Quiver Dance Pokemon. This is the set you could expect. Boosted up with Quiver Dance, increased its speed, special attack, and special defense. Allowed it to tank special attacks fairly well, while dishing out huge damage and usually going first. One of the best counters to that is Trick Room, which reverses the speed order, and we've already seen that from Inash's side here.
Yeah, definitely as the Quiver Dance boosts its speed, Trick Room is not the best thing for that. You never really want to be boosting your speed in Trick Room, but of course, that was the final turn of Trick Room, and the Twisted Dimensions have returned to pretty scary with that increased speed, special defense, and special attack. Of course, now that Scrafty's back on the field, the Fake Out pressure is still there.
Yeah, both sides obviously preparing for Trick Room to expire there. Both of them brought their Fake Outers out so that they could control the field, and we see Ludicolo's going on first.
Crowd goes wild for Ludicolo's Fake Out onto Scrafty. Gonna get the advanced damage there. Heat Wave coming in from that boosted Volcarona. Gonna get some free damage off on this Scrafty and this Mischievous. Scrafty and Mischievous both survive that Heat Wave, and Mischievous is able to get that Trick Room off once again.
Mischievous has taken a beating this game. It's been out there for, I think, the entire game so far, and it's still ticking. Inash might be onto something here.
I have a scarier thing. Scrafty does go down to the Hail. Mischievous takes a little bit more. Hail doing a lot of work. That percent health damage. Everything else can't get through the defenses. The Hail can. And now we have a situation where a speedy Volcarona is now in Trick Room. And one of Volcarona's greatest nemesis, Rhyperior, is now on the field in Trick Room.
Rhyperior has sort of become one of Inash's trademark Pokemon. One of the slowest Pokemon in the game, has stab type attack bonus and both rock and ground type attacks. Ground, one of the best attacking types in the metagame, only really bothered by levitators and flying type Pokemon, both of which are hit hard or super effectively by Rock Slide.
Definitely great for this too, because Rhyperior gets some really cool coverage moves like Mega Horn, which could really damage that Ludicolo.
No Pokemon on Gavin's team is safe here, and this is one of the hardest spots to play at it. Almost all the turns of Trick Room are still available, and Rhyperior has free reign to go crazy here.
Yeah, and it looks like Metagross is coming out hoping to take some of the damage that would be coming Ludicolo's way. Volcarona, also very afraid of any attack from that Rhyperior, is going to be able to protect itself. While Rhyperior does use that Mega Horn on Ludicolo's slot, but Ludicolo's not there anymore, Metagross is out, and it's going to be able to take that much better than that Ludicolo. Pain Split does come out from Mischievous, hoping to use that low HP to its advantage, but Volcarona wisely protected there.
Inash trying to use Pain Split to keep Mischievous alive, but only have one more turn to try to get Pain Split off and avoid fainting.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see if that Mischievous can continue to survive. Metagross does occasionally carry Bullet Punch, which is a priority move, which would be great for Trick Room because it ignore the speed trickery that happened. The reverse speed, there we go. And it looks like Volcarona isn't going to have a good time at all. Even an Earthquake coming from that Rhyperior is going to be super effective on the Metagross, not super effective on the Volcarona, but hitting at its peak defense.
We haven't seen a whole lot of Pokemon who'd be able to take an Earthquake safely at this point. So Rhyperior probably eyeing up the team eagerly here. Gavin's probably going to try to get Ludicolo out, turn another Fake Out to start stalling turns with this Trick Room, because if Rhyperior gets more than about 2 attacks off, the game's probably going to end.
And it looks like he does exactly that. Gavin sends out his Ludicolo in place of the Volcarona, not wanting to risk anything from that Rhyperior. The Bullet Punch from Metagross does hit the Misdreavus, and finally, after all of these turns, at least like 8 turns, that Misdreavus does faint. The Earthquake comes out, the Ground Gem activates. That's going to be really scary, even to that Ludicolo that's going to resist. Boosts the power of the Earthquake. Metagross goes down easy, and look at how much damage Ludicolo takes. It's a KO, and Ludicolo goes down despite the not very effective hit. Very critical hit. The crowd goes wild for Rhyperior. The last Pokemon on the field takes down 2, while his partner Misdreavus gives her life for the greater good.
I really see the power of Rhyperior there. Not a Pokemon to see a whole lot of, but it does have a great attack stat. And getting a bonus on Earthquake, one of the better attacking moves in the game, is hard to deal with. And Gavin sees why there. You know, he switches into Resist, which you think is good, but apparently not so much. But it does give him a free switch here.
He does get a free switch, but also so does Enosh. Enosh choosing to use his remaining turns of Trick Room by sending out that Abomasnow, who doesn't like the Volcarona all that much. He'll be eyeing up this Amoonguss quite fiercely. Amoonguss still has a little bit of Trick Room left. Volcarona, who does love Trick Room, Volcarona does not. Potentially good if Gavin can stall this one out with that Amoonguss.
Yeah, Amoonguss is the key here. I mentioned this before with Amoonguss taking control of the game last time Trick Room was up. But that's pretty much how Gavin is going to have to try to win games if Enosh keeps focusing on Trick Room. It should be slower than Rhyperior, though we'll have to see here. But assuming it is, it's threatening to both use Spore and 4-time super effective Giga Drain to weaken Rhyperior here. So it makes it much harder to play, whereas with all the other Pokemon Gavin's seen, Rhyperior can pretty much just flail away.
Yeah, definitely true. Of course, that Amoonguss is part poison type, so we'll still be taking good damage from the Earthquake, but with the Ground Gem out of the way already, not going to be taking as much as maybe Enosh would hope. This is going to be a very close match here as we wait for Enosh to make his decision. Really interested to see who will be going first here. Rhyperior does not believe it's him. It goes for the Protect to save itself from that Amoonguss. Amoonguss also protecting because of Abomasnow's Blizzard threat here. Looks like this is a free turn from Volcarona. The Blizzard is into Amoonguss's Protect. It does hit Volcarona, and we'll see how much damage it dealt. Not near enough. Not very effective. Volcarona does get the Bug Buzz, does get the Fire Off attack onto that Abomasnow, and Abomasnow will faint as Gavin's Volcarona in Trick Room gets a KO against the Rhyperior.
Brilliant play by Gavin there. Now, we mentioned that Volcarona, not a Pokemon that enjoys being in Trick Room very much, but that's one way you can still make it effective. Amoonguss protects it from slower Rhyperior, and that allows it to get some damage off against Abomasnow.
Definitely a very clutch play there by Gavin. Trick Room is not yet over, so Amoonguss will potentially be going first, able to finalize the KO on that Rhyperior in game 1. Volcarona isn't feeling quite as brave this time, goes for the Protect. Rhyperior is slower, uses the Rock Slide into the Protect of Volcarona, is going to deal some damage to that Amoonguss. Good amount of damage there, but doesn't get the flinch. And the Giga Drain is going to come in 4 times super effective. Going to deal a lot of damage. Look at that HP bar go down. All the way down to the red. Rhyperior survives one more turn, but Amoonguss is going to be able to heal all of that damage back up, except for him.
Pretty rare to see that. You don't think of Amoonguss as much of an attacking Pokemon, but it really takes one out of its own here.
Yeah, and the hail coming in, not quite enough to finish off the Rhyperior either.
Rhyperior is clinging to its life here, trying to avoid getting knocked out, giving Gavin the first game, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen here with Trick Room expiring.
Definitely. Volcarona now able to move first, potentially giving Volcarona a chance to get a KO on the Rhyperior itself. sort of bizarro world. Amoonguss is protecting itself. Volcarona is going to use the Bug Buzz, and it is going to land on that Rhyperior, and Rhyperior is going to go down, and Gavin Michaels takes the first game in this 3-game series. Shachar is going to be there. At the bottom is going to be Gavin Michaels. Gavin leading with the Ludicolo and Amoonguss. Well, there it is, Mischievous and Scrafty. Enosh clearly thinks Mischievous is worth it.
He sure does. Great leads by both sides here, I think. Enosh kind of picked his generic Trick Room setup team. He brought a Trick Room user, a Fake Out user, and Gavin countered that pretty well. He's got a faster Fake Out in Ludicolo to shut down Scrafty's Fake Out if he wants to, and then he's got Amoonguss, who lets him go two directions here. He can either allow Trick Room to be placed by Mischievous, assuming Enosh chooses to go that route, or he can interrupt the Trick Room by using a move like Spore.
Yeah, it's worth noting that even though Amoonguss is very slow, we saw how slow it was during Trick Room. Because of Trick Room's negative priority, it gets to go last at the end of the turn. So even though Amoonguss is really slow, it can still get the score off before the Trick Room. Looks like Enosh is very worried about that Amoonguss. That's what he should be. Out comes the Abomasnow to make life difficult for Gavin. Ludicolo is going to choose to fake out that Scrafty, which is now an Abomasnow. Of course, will deal a little bit of damage, but doesn't get the flinch. Sort of the same idea there. Ludicolo avoids the Will-O-Wisp again, though. Will-O-Wisp, not the greatest accuracy there, and Amoonguss does choose to stop the Trick Room with Spore.
Both sides kind of avoiding the same situation we got in game one. I was curious if Gavin was just going to allow Trick Room to happen since it worked so well from the first game, but he does choose to shut it down here, and Enosh cleverly wasn't going to put it up anyway after how game one went. We also end up with the strange situation here for VGC in that we have 3 grass-type Pokemon in the field. I can't remember the last time I've seen that happen. Grass is a cool type. It's got a lot of interesting niche Pokemon, but not a whole lot of the common Pokemon other than Breloom, who is not one of these 3 grass Pokemon. So both of these trainers representing some underutilized options in the VGC metagame.
Definitely. And it's worth noting that primarily I think these Pokemon are used for their secondary types. Ludicolo's water type gives it some useful resistance, and Abomasnow's ice type gives it a great attacking power with its blizzards and also the gale. Amoonguss's poison type will be less so, but Spore definitely being very useful there.
The poison type does give it a resistance to fighting type attacks, which, as we've seen through some of the matches in the finals here, is one of the more common attack types in VGC, even though we haven't seen too much of it in the Masters finals.
And it looks like that Amoonguss does not want to stick around while Abomasnow is on the field. Is going to switch out to the Metagross, a really great counter to that Abomasnow, able to resist both of its grass or ice type attacks. Of course, Abomasnow does not want to have, Abomasnow is going to switch out, predicting that, into the Scrafty, going to get that Intimidate back off onto the special attacking Ludicolo and Pure Body Metagross. Not the greatest use of Intimidate there, but does get Scrafty back on the field and will let Scrafty have that fake out pressure again. Scald comes out from Ludicolo onto Mischievous. As we saw, it doesn't really deal a whole lot of damage, but is going to start building up over time because Mischievous' only recovery option is going to be that Pain Split.
Kind of an interesting option to try to whittle Mischievous down given that Pain Split. If I were playing against a Pokemon like that, I might be trying to look for a big decisive blow to avoid giving it that option of pain splitting me. Gavin's going to have to be really careful not to let Mischievous get free attacks while it's low on HP, or it's just going to steal all of his health points away.
It's definitely a risk that Gavin has to worry about that Gavin will give him. Mischievous still sleeping away, hoping to wake up soon. Set Trick Room or Will-O-Wisp that Metagross. Be interesting to see now that the fake out pressure is cleanly on Enosh's side, what he'll choose to do.
He's got a little more control now, assuming Mischievous wakes up. We've had a few situations like this with Mischievous getting put to sleep, and a lot of what's going to determine this game is how long these sleeps last.
And it looks like Gavin is preparing for Trick Room to come back up as Ludicolo switches out for that Amoonguss, while Metagross goes for Protect. Basically just getting the free switch in for Amoonguss there, and hoping not to take any damage as the fake out does come out from Enosh on the protecting Metagross. And Mischievous still snoozing.
Wake up, Mischievous! We should see it soon, but having a hard time making that big impact was promised here since it's spending most of these games asleep.
Mischievous has had a long day too. Long weekend. It's been 48 hours of Pokemon battling here. Let's give Mischievous deserves a rest.
I mean, he fought through 8 rounds of Swiss. You know,
9 rounds of Swiss.
9 rounds of Swiss. I'm sorry, 9 rounds of Swiss. Well, 8 for Enosh because he had a bye. So, you know, he played through the top 32, the top 16, top 8, the top 4. You know, Mischievous had a long journey here, and he's gonna have to take it easy for a while.
Just needs a couple more battles to make that impact here. As Amoonguss and Metagross, I feel that's a pretty good setup for Gavin. Can handle both of these quite well. Here comes the Psychic Gym, Zen Headbutt off of Metagross, really hoping for that decisive blow that you were mentioning earlier onto Mischievous before it can wake up. It's going to deal a lot of damage, all the way down. That's going to be the KO on Mischievous. Bulky into Cresselia, but not bulky enough, as the Spore comes out from Amoonguss, and it is going to put that Scrafty to sleep. Great turn for Gavin, bad position for Enoch.
Really tough spot now.
Oh, and the Lumberry comes out from Scrafty, and it will be able to wake up and use its Crunch to deal a little bit of damage to Metagross. Still not the best position, but it could be worse.
Yeah, perhaps not the worst spot at all. Scrafty, not quite as tired as Mischievous. Maybe he didn't get to play in as many battles, so Scrafty's here and ready to fight. Interesting information that turned too. Not only is Amoonguss quicker than Rhyperior, but apparently he's been practicing running on its little mushroom legs, and it's faster than Scrafty too.
Slower than Rhyperior and faster than Scrafty.
Faster than both, right? Because it moved after Rhyperior and
Trick Rope. That's right. Very fast mushroom on the field here. Rhyperior comes out for Enosh's side. Going to be interesting to see how that Rhyperior is able to function without Chris Room up. Does have a good partner in Scrafty, but Amoonguss definitely very threatening.
Yeah, Rhyperior's probably a little bit scared here. If it got the chance to use an Earthquake, it would do a bunch of damage to both Amoonguss and Metagross. But Metagross is a Steel-type Pokemon, which is super effective against Rock, and Amoonguss is a Grass-type Pokemon, which is super effective against both Rock and Ground. So the odds of Rhyperior actually getting to use that Earthquake right now aren't looking very good.
We did see Rhyperior was able to survive one Giga Drain last time at very low health from that Amoonguss. But he will have to worry about the Metagross also following up and double targeting. Definitely don't expect him to survive a full onslaught.
Perhaps we'll see it, perhaps we won't. Amoonguss also has the option of sporing one of his two targets and getting some sleep to help control the game for Gavin. So is the option of going on the offense here and trying to take out a Pokemon, or just trying to slow things down?
Oh, and the Meteor Mash from Metagross misses the Scrafty, but Spore does not miss. Does get the Spore onto Rhyperior. Rhyperior is going to be falling asleep here. Not going to be waking up anytime soon, as we already saw that Ground Gym. But the Scrafty is going to use Drain Punch, getting a little bit of damage onto that Metagross as well, and healing off some of that chip damage that it's already taken. Unfortunate for Gavin there. It looks like Rhyperior is just going to snooze this one out.
Well, getting that turn of snoozing is important. After this turn, there's always going to be a chance that Rhyperior can wake up. And if it does wake up and Gavin isn't expecting it, it might be able to get that Earthquake off. Gavin's going to have to be careful to manage this. He's got to try to pick up a knockout as quickly as he can here. But if he doesn't, if he tries to target Scrafty's slot and Rhyperior wakes up on him, he could see this game turning around on him very quickly.
Yeah, this is one of the pitfalls of using a Pokemon like Amoonguss or Braylon, as we mentioned earlier. Once that Pokemon is asleep, you generally tend to think of it as not as much of a threat anymore. But after one turn, it can wake up at any moment and get that surprise attack that you weren't expecting. And it looks like Enosh is hoping for that. Switches out the Scrafty for the Abomasnow, hoping to get the resistance on the Earthquake if he needs it. The Meteor Mash comes out, and it is going to target that Rhyperior. Gavin is not going to play games with this one, not going to leave anything up to chance. He's a little bit over half HP there, while Amoonguss is going to Spore the Abomasnow instead of double targeting that Rhyperior. It'd be great for him if Rhyperior continues to sleep. We'll just have to see if Rhyperior is awake and ready. And yes, Rhyperior wakes up. He's going to be able to use the Earthquake, that Ground Gem, boosting the Earthquake. So much damage coming in here. We're going to be dealing quite a bit to the Abomasnow as well, but we'll see everyone else. Abomasnow is taking damage. Not too terrible there, but Metagross is going to faint. Amoonguss is going solo. 41 HP left. Not quite enough, but definitely not a great position for that Amoonguss.
huge momentum swing for Enosh there. We were just talking about the pitfalls of this, and that's exactly why you've got to be careful, Spore. Looked like he had an advantage there, but all it took was one wake-up, and Rhyperior turned this game right around. We're real close now.
Definitely very close, right? That Volcarona being able to control that Abomasnow quite easily, and Amoonguss able to control the Rhyperior.
We saw Volcarona come in and clutch it up last game, and here it is again. It's a great solution to Abomasnow with both of its attacks. Bug Buzz and Heat Wave can be super effective against Abomasnow and its many weaknesses. And Amoonguss is here, ready to continue trying to deal with Rhyperior.
Definitely a tough position for Enosh here. We will have to see whether he will be able to use his remaining Pokemon to get the win here, but he is behind. And it's going to be close. And it's really going to come down to the next couple of turns.
Yeah, I think the battle here is going to be between Amoonguss and Rhyperior. If Amoonguss can get rid of Rhyperior before it meets its sad demise to Hail or to Abomasnow, Gavin will be in a good spot. But if Rhyperior gets 3, gets another attack off, it could be tough for Gavin.
And it looks like he is sending out just the right Pokemon to get that free turn for Gavin, or for Enosh, sorry. He's going to send out that Scrafty, which brings back the Fake Out pressure, intimidates both of his special attacking Pokemon. As Rhyperior is going to use that Protect, stalling out a turn, hoping to get into a position where Volcarona won't be able to move, or sorry, Amoonguss won't be able to move before that Rhyperior. Rhyperior protects the Heat Wave, and it does connect to Scrafty. Volcarona, very strong Pokemon, is going to deal quite a bit of damage there, and the Spore comes in into Rhyperior, into the Protect.
Gavin correctly predicting that Enosh should make a switch there, but not predicting the right slot.
It's definitely going to be interesting here as we see that hail damage slowly whittle away the Amoonguss as well.
Like you mentioned before, the key there was for Enosh to get Scrafty out, try to get 3 turns to get rid of Amoonguss here. Fake Out may be able to knock out Amoonguss from this range, probably fairly close. But either way, the hail damage at the end of the turn would lead to Amoonguss fainting if it stays in here. So it's now in a much tougher spot, which prevents it from effectively controlling Rhyperior, who's going to try to get an attack off here probably.
Yeah, this is one of those interesting situations. If you're worried about takeout pressure, he's usually going to protect. But if Gavin protects here, the next, then it won't be KO'd by the hail this turn, but it gives another opportunity for Rhyperior to protect and get that chip damage. But Amoonguss is going to go back to Gavin, and Ludicolo is going to come out instead. Equally good at beating Rhyperior when it's faster. And it looks like Scrafty is even going to bounce back too, and we're going to see Abomasnow come right back in. So it looks like Gavin is going to have the Fake Out pressure for the next turn, while Volcarona protects, not going to let Enosh get off any free damage on it as it recognizes that it is power. Oh my god! Megahorn! Onto the Abomasnow! Pro plays right there. Rhyperior Megahorns the Abomasnow so that Scrafty can get a free switch in, while Volcarona's Protect just went off.
There's one play you don't see every day. Enosh chooses to knock out his own Pokemon so that he can switch twice in the same turn. Unfortunately for him, Ludicolo's probably not going to be so amused by that.
Yes, since Ludicolo just switched out, it just switched in, it will have its fake out up and be able to prevent Scrafty using its Fake Out this turn.
Really crafty play by Enosh there, but not so certain it's going to work out this time. That said, I mean, this Sleeping Abomasnow is kind of dead weight anyway. I don't know if that would be the difference between winning and losing this game, but you gotta love that though. I mean, confident player to be willing to knock out your own Pokemon like that.
Well, that's the thing. Enosh was behind. When you're behind like that, you have to be willing to make those big plays. Otherwise, you're just going to continue falling behind. Ludicolo does go for the Fake Out onto Scrafty. Not going to get a chance to use its own Fake Out this turn, as you see it flinching thanks to the Fake Out. Volcarona's Bug Buzz is going to come in onto that Scrafty. Going to deal some good damage there. It's going to be another KO there. Scrafty faints. Rhyperior is alone against all of these Pokemon. The Rock Slide is going to come out. Going to be able to get the KO on that Volcarona. Going to deal some good damage to Ludicolo, but it is still much slower than Ludicolo and that Amoonguss coming out. Really bad position for Rhyperior.
That's probably about all she really does. And Enosh made a really exciting play to turn this game around, but Gavin brought Ludicolo back in at just the right time, and now we've got a low health Rhyperior facing off with a grass and water snake Pokemon that's faster than it, which is pretty much the worst situation you could find yourself in VGC.
Yeah, I can't think of many worse situations than that. I do have to give Enosh a lot of credit for that. He went out on a limb, and it was a real gutsy play that Gavin made a great reaction to. Not necessarily predicting it. I don't know if anyone could have predicted that happening, but a really good turnaround from Gavin there. Ludicolo is going to use the Skull onto Rhyperior. Rhyperior is going to fake, and Gavin takes the second game and the championship from the 2013 US National Video Game Championship in the Masters Division.
That's right, folks. Gavin Michaels from Los Angeles, California is your 2013 US Masters Division National Champion!